Hi there, welcome to video number 3 in our Parts and Aspects series. So far in this series, we've looked at the functions of parts and aspects in our object records, and we've seen how to create a simple multi-part object record. In this video, we'll look at how to create aspects. You will recall that we can create multiple aspects where different areas or parts of an object have different cataloguing requirements. In this example, we're going to use aspects to record different components of a single part object. When used in this way, aspects can be used to record what the spectrum standard describes as object component information, i.e. information about non-separable parts or components of an object. So when we're looking at an object record, we can see the aspects we're looking at here, and we can open this box to change aspects if there's multiple aspects. In this case, we haven't got any yet. We've only got the whole aspect, which is of course the default aspect that all records start with. I've already filled out some basic information about my object. So it's a small sample of a blanket comprised of 4 knitted squares. I've given it a number and a location. I've got a technique recorded, it's been hand knitted, and I've also got a bit of information about the person who used to own this blanket, which is Anne Sutton. She was given it as a birthday present in 1937. And what I want to do is record more information about this object, and I want to record who made the blanket. However, this is slightly complicated because 4 different people made our blanket. Each knitted a single square, which were then stuck together, knitted together rather, and gifted to Anne. So how are we going to record this production information? Well, we can use aspects. We can assign an aspect to each square and then record a production person for each aspect. And that way it'll be really clear who made which square. So to do this, I'm going to go to my edit form to edit the information about our blanket. The first thing I'm going to need to do is create an aspect. So you can see above our editing sections, we have this aspects box here where we can, again, change aspects, see aspects in our list. Obviously, we've only got the whole aspect, but we can click add to add a new one. So let's do that now. Again, when you're naming an aspect, you want to give it a name that makes sense to you and that other people will understand. I'm going to call this square far left. And let's pretend our squares are in a row and we can record them going from left to right. So square far left. You'll see that something's changed now. We're now looking at this aspect. And you can see we can choose between multiple aspects now in our list if we wanted to go back and look at the whole aspect. But let's go to square far left. And we're first of all going to visit the description section. This square is blue, so I'm going to assign it a colour linked just to this aspect. And there's also a design of people cycling on this knitted patch, so I'm going to tick cycling for content activity. Now let's record the maker of this particular square of our blanket. Let's say that this was made in June 1937. And then we'll add a maker for this square. And let's say on this occasion, the maker was Aubrey Smith. And I'll just set her as maker. I think that's enough for that aspect. I'm now going to save my changes. And if I view my record, just as a reminder, we can now see if we view all aspects, we can see that for the aspect square far left, we have a production date, a production person, and we also have a colour and content activity. So let's continue to add aspects for the other squares on our blanket. So again, in the editing form, I'm going to click add. I'm going to call this one square middle left. You can see where I'm going with this. And now I've fast forwarded ahead and we're now on our last patch. So I've made 3 so far. I've made the far left patch, the middle left patch, the middle right patch, and now I'm making square far right. And just like I've done for the others, I'm going to give our patch a unique colour. This one is mostly red. This one actually shows skipping. And then if I continue down to our production section, again, I'm going to add a production date. This one can be July 1937. And again, a production person, one for each individual square on our blanket. Let's say this one is another Smith. And this time it was Samuel Smith who made our patch. And we'll save those changes. So now that we've assigned all of our aspects to this record, you can see the full list up here at the top. You'll also note that when we're looking at parts, in each part we can see a checkbox of all the aspects available, and we can assign a relationship between parts and aspects. In this case, it's quite simple. Our object has one part, and so this part is going to apply to all of the aspects. So I can click these just to make it really clear that the one part of our object relates to all aspects in this case. Of course, with multi-part objects, as we'll find out next time, we can do different things with this functionality. But for now, that's our record finished. We'll save our changes and we'll view. And let's look at all aspects. And what do we see? Well, we can see that in our parts section here, we are being reminded that all the aspects we see relate to this one part. And we can see in the description section now, we have a colour assigned to each aspect. Now, of course, we could have just recorded blue, pink, yellow, red against the whole aspect, but it wouldn't have had that level of detail, and it wouldn't have necessarily been clear in our cataloguing which colour related to which square. Equally with content, we could have ticked all those boxes for the whole aspect, but actually this has been a slightly more detailed way of showing patch by patch what activity is being shown. And again, you can see with production, we've got 4 different production dates, each assigned to a different aspect, and 4 different production people, each assigned again to a different aspect. So you can see there how aspect can help you to catalogue different components of an object with different types of information. Join us next time when we're going to be creating a multi-part, multi-aspect item